So if Allah orders something, then it's upon us to follow it. If you did your best and you ended up not getting to it, Allah is so merciful and loving, He'll still accept your prayer. In Islam, we do not shave women's head for not covering. That is absolutely nowhere in Islam. Cleared that up too, right?
Well, I'm clearing everything up.
Nice, nice.
Okay, so the next thing would be the praying.
Okay,
How
good.
many times a day?
5 times a day. Yeah.
Times a day.
But the prayer takes just a couple of minutes.
And you
right?
have to face the Mecca?
The Kaaba, which is in Mecca,
Yeah.
because that is a unifying position for us to all pray together, right? So you're gonna like bow down. You don't want to be bumping heads with each other, right? So we have one direction to pray.
But if you're in your room by yourself, you're still going to face
The Kaaba, yeah, that is a direction for us to pray towards.
What's the benefit of that?
It unifies the Muslim body, right? When you're praying in China or you're praying in America or in Australia or in Europe, we're united in our prayer, in our direction, in our belief. It shows the unity of the Muslim Ummah.
Okay, so if you're facing the opposite side, is your prayer not as effective?
It is not permissible to pray the opposite side because from the conditions of the prayer is you face the Kaaba. Now, if you did your best to face one way and it turned out you were facing another way, Allah will still accept your prayer, right? Because Allah looks at your intention.
So it would still be just as effective,
Yes,
even if you're facing in the wrong direction.
if you did your best to face the right direction.
Why? If Allah can just, it doesn't matter what direction we're
It
facing,
doesn't matter.
He could still
Of course.
make our prayers effective.
Of course.
So why is
But
it,
Allah has ordered it for us to face the Kaaba
Yes.
to show that unity and that obedience. So if Allah orders something, then it's upon us to follow it. If you did your best and you ended up not getting to it, Allah is so merciful and loving, He'll still accept your prayer. Right? Before, we used to face Al-Aqsa in Quds, may Allah free it, right? But Allah changed it to Mecca, right? Because the order of Allah, it's not about the direction, it's about obedience to God, right? It's about unity. It's about showing that we follow the directions. Now, if you tried your best and you face a different way, Allah will accept it. But if you purposely go, no, I don't want to do it, I don't care what it says, then that's your pride.
so you're saying that there could be some sort of benefit that we don't know, but
That is
Allah,
very true, of course. Allah
I
knows.
see what you mean.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So,
All right.
no God but one God.
No, yep.
Prophets. We agreed,
I agree that there's definitely been prophets.
right? And we agreed the Prophet Muhammad in the Quran brought message that he could not have known on his own.
On his own, but
Yes.
it could have been possible from.
But we already agreed no demons, right?
It,
So let's-
it could have been, but you've made a great point. Do you think the Quran would be more evil if it was written by?
100%. So leave the demons out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's aliens. I'll go through it with you. Don't worry, right?
The aliens, that's actually an interesting one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But if the aliens reveal the Quran, what would they tell the Prophet that this is from? Aliens, right? But if the Quran is a revelation from a higher power,
Yeah.
and the Quran tells you it's from Allah, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how long do you say you've been studying this for?
1995.
1995.
And I'm still a student.
You're still a student?
Yeah, still studying.
Wow.
So I'll continue to study till my grave.
Yeah. So what would I have to do? Okay. So I would also have to believe that Muhammad was the last prophet.
Yes. Why? Because the Quran says so. Khatam al-Nabiyyin, he's the last of the messengers,
Does
right?
it say why?
But everything that Allah sends in this world has a beginning and end, right? So Adam was the first prophet. Why was he the first prophet? Because Allah chose so. Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the last prophet. Why? Because Allah chose so. But I can give you a wisdom from it,
Yeah.
which is in the time of Noah, for example, he could not reach other lands. Like Abraham was in this Fertile Crescent, in the Middle East, but he couldn't get to China, right? But after the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Muslims, the followers of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, using ships and travel, got to every part of the world, right? So there was no need to send different prophets because now the ummah, the nation of the Prophet, peace be upon him, we could reach those other areas. So now we are here doing the job of the prophets. We're not prophets,
Yeah.
but we're doing the da'wah, right?
Yeah, I see.
So that's why in the earlier times you had to have multiple prophets at one time to cover all the geographical locations. From the time of the Prophet Muhammad onwards, peace be upon all of them,
yeah.
then you didn't have that problem.
I'm with you. I'm
Makes
not
sense.
sold on Muhammad being a prophet.
So let's go through that.
One question
Go ahead.
would be, did he
But this-
marry a Jewish
Jazakallah
woman
khair.
and he killed the husband and then married the Jewish woman?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Do you know where I'm?
I have no idea where you're getting that from, right? For example, there is one of his wives called Maria Qibtiyya,
Yeah.
who was a Coptic Christian woman. According to the majority of the historians, she became a Muslimah, but she was given to him as a slave by a Christian king, but he freed her and married her.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
Yeah, so there is a narration by Khalid ibn al-Walid.
Yeah.
Khalid ibn al-Walid, he was a later Sahabi. He married a woman of her husband was a Murtad, but that's not the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all his wives, they were Muslimas. They became Muslim.
Yeah.
Some of them were from pagan backgrounds because that's what Arabia was upon. Some of them were from Christian Jewish background.
But he didn't murder the
No.
husband.
Yeah,
Okay.
no idea where that's from.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
Because I know you know your stuff.
Yeah, I taught the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
I'll give you the series. You can go through the whole thing free.
Good.